So a fourth Despicable Me. Yeah, that sounds about right. I usually like this franchise, but I'm starting to think it's going on a little long. By the way, I had to write notes for this one because was supposed to be the video that came out yesterday, but due to circumstances, that's not what ended up happening. So I've got some notes with me to remind me what happens in some of the smaller parts of the movie. So, yeah, if I look down every once in a while and look like I'm reading something, it's because I am. So, hang on, my camera looks a little off. That looks better. So, I generally like this franchise. I think the first three Despicable Me movies are good, mindless fun. The first one is actually a legitimately great film, and it's still Illumination's best film, maybe other than the Super Mario Brothers movie. The sequels kind of went all in on just throwing every joke at the wall and see what sticks, and the emotional beats were kind of chucked out the window, especially with the third one. Or, you know what? Honestly, I think that was more true of the second one than the third one, because the third one tried to have more emotional beats, even if it didn't do a very good job of it, but I still generally like those films. I can watch them, or even just have them on the background, and, like, especially since there's nothing harmful about them, and there's no woke pandering shit that's in them, I can watch them just fine. The Minions movies are a little different. I think the sequel, The Rise of Gru, that came out a couple years ago, was once again good, mindless fun, on par with the Despicable Me sequels, I think. First Minions, however, is dildos. So, we're just gonna move away from that. This one, I didn't know what to expect from this one. I was assuming they would go off the story of him battling Drew, his brother from the third movie, because that's kind of what the end of the third movie set up. And when I saw the trailer and found out that wasn't going to be the case, I was a little disappointed, because I thought that could be a pretty cool dynamic. But instead, we get this new villain voiced by fucking Will Ferrell. I swear to God, Will Ferrell was funny once upon a time, but I have yet to see a movie since Megamind that he has been funny in. Holmes and Watson, that stupid Eurovision movie, and now this. And his villain is possibly the worst in the franchise so far. And yes, that includes the Minions movies. His backstory is lame, and it doesn't help that he's barely in the movie. This movie clocks into around, without credits, probably about an hour 26, so it's a pretty short movie. Like I said, I don't even know if it reaches the hour and a half mark without credits. But he's in the movie maybe 10 minutes. Do you remember the other villains of the Despicable Me movies? If you like these movies, you probably remember them because they made their presence known. In the first one, it was Vector, and he was around quite a bit and had a lot of personality to him. Honestly, the most forgettable villain was the second movie. It was the luchador guy. I don't even remember what his plan was. It had something to do with turning the Minions into stupid purple monsters. I don't remember what his plan was. And then the third one was Balthazar Brat, which was a very entertaining villain. And hell, the Minions villains were usually pretty entertaining. This guy is just annoying. He's not funny, he's not interesting, and again, his backstory's fucking stupid. Let's see. One thing I was concerned about with this movie was that it looked like it was just going to be Minions 3 and not Despicable Me 4. Gru was barely in the trailers. Most of the trailers revolved around the Minions doing a bunch of stupid shit. But the weird thing about this movie is that it seemed like the worst aspects of the trailer, which was the long scene through the trailer of the Mega Minions first showing off their abilities, or the stupid fight in the grocery store. Those were some of the worst parts of the movie, and it seems like they shoved all of the worst scenes into the trailer. And speaking of the trailer, it was kind of cock tease marketing. It was kind of false advertising, because one of the big parts of the trailer was Ramsbottom finding out, oh no, Gru's been compromised and we gotta send in the Mega Minion. It seemed like he made the Mega Minions as a result of Gru being compromised, and that it came up early in the film. And that he was compromised early in the film. The whole Gru's been compromised bit doesn't happen until there's 20 minutes left. Maybe. And the Mega Minions had already been created like half an hour earlier. They were sitting around doing jack shit because the one time they tried to help people, they resulted in fucking even worse shit up. I'm trying to keep my notes up, but it's not working, so I'm just gonna hold them. They rip off, and speaking of the villain, they rip off Syndrome at the end, where his entire plan is to steal the baby and try to turn him into his little sidekick, which kind of also rips off Son of the Mask, where the baby gets to decide who he goes to and ends up, of course, choosing his real father and saving his real father. Really? You want to rip off Son of the Mask, which is possibly one of the worst movies ever made? There's a stupid child side character that does a heist with Gru to steal a badger? I think it's a badger. From it doesn't. It makes more sense in context, but still doesn't make a ton of sense. Like, it's some school that she wants to... I think it's some school that she wants to get into, and wants to steal the badger. Again, I don't really know. This part of the movie where she was trying to team up with Gru to do stuff was a point of the movie where I started to check out a little bit, but after that ended, the movie started to pull me back in a little bit. And this also kind of rehashes the third movie, where someone wants to do a heist with Gru but ends up helping him in the final fight against the villain. So they're already rehashing ideas, and I saw a quote somewhere saying, it was one of the main, minds behind the movies, saying that they will never age up the characters, which makes me think that they're still planning to have a few more in the future. And speaking of the kids, they don't have much to do either. I saw a bunch of reviews saying that there were way too many plot threads, which was a problem both the second and third movie had. Like, the third movie, you had Gru trying to bond with his brother Drew. You had Lucy trying to be a good mom. You had, Margot being forced to date this guy she doesn't like. And Edith and Agnes are trying to find a unicorn, and it was too, and the minions are off in prison somewhere. It was a cluttered mess. Even though I still like the third movie, I can't deny that the plot is kind of a mess. This one, it's a little more streamlined. The girls don't do as much in this movie, but I think that's a good thing, because they don't need their own subplots. There was a small bit that happened earlier with Edith and Agnes taking karate, which never came back into the movie afterwards. Margot goes to a new school for a day. We don't see any of it, which I'm kind of glad about. The last thing I need in this movie is more high school bullshit. But, again, that never comes up again. It's just kind of thrown away. It's just there to pad out the running time. And for some reason, something else that rips off Son of the Mask, is that for some reason the baby's an asshole to Gru. It's never explained why. Like, Gru doesn't do anything that makes the baby hate him, or if he did beforehand, it's never explained. He's just a dick to Gru. He kind of reminds me of Manny from Diary of a Wimpy Kid, where he acts all like an innocent baby around his mother, then when it's to Gru, he has all the scowling faces like this, and he acts like a giant dick. Again, it's not explained. If it was explained, I would be able to tolerate it a bit more, but it was just there for drama's sake, for the final confrontation. The action sequences are still fine, but it feels like each movie there's less and less of them. And that kind of sucks, because I really like the action sequences in these movies. Especially in Minions 2, they had a lot of really big, really cool action sequences, even if some didn't really make sense, like the Minions unlocking those abilities in Minions 2, which I guess is the same thing here. But the Mega Minions barely do a damn thing in this movie. Honestly, you cut out the Mega Minion stuff, you don't miss anything. Because the only thing they do at the very end of the movie is after the villain's technically already defeated, all they do is just continually pound him into the ground. You cut out that bit, nothing changes. Literally nothing changes. And like I said earlier, is that it seems like they're planning to have more movies based on that one quote, but I'm wondering if that's true, at least as far as the mainline Despicable Me movies go. Maybe they'll have more Minions movies, because those things still make a shitload of money, and this thing did really well in its opening weekend. I don't know how it's done this weekend yet, but I think it did about as well as Inside Out 2, and that thing's already broken $1 billion, so this one could follow suit. Because Despicable Me 3 and Minions made $1 billion, and I think Minions 2 was, damn close. It was, in the 900 millions range. But this movie really does feel like the finale with the end of the movie, where they have cameos from all of the villains from the other films, from Vector, the Luchador, the 5 from the Rise of Gru, I don't remember what they were called, and Scarlet Overkill from Minions, and Drew makes a last second, oh, and Balthazar Brat. And then Drew makes a very, very blink and you miss it cameo at the end of this movie. Like, I'm surprised I even noticed him, because, okay, imagine this full screen is what I'm watching it on. He was, like, this tiny on the screen. I only barely, because I was, like, looking in the entire screen, looking for other characters that had shown up in the past, because that's what they were doing with the prison, and I spotted him in the side. I'm like, really? That's all we're gonna get from this guy? And isn't he kind of a super villain still? Why is he in the backyard and not doing this? Plus, the entire subplot of the Minions being stuck at AVL, again, that's just more padding. The Minions played a pivotal part in the first movie, but it seems like ever since then, they have to keep them around because they're the big marketing. Hell, every Illumination movie, they have the Illumination logo with the Minions, and by the way, every single one of those gets worse, I swear to God. They get more and more annoying with every single one of those intros. But either way, they get less and less to do in every single one of the movies. The last movie, they didn't really have anything to do with the main plot, as it was just them. They left Gru, they got stuck in prison, which was kind of funny. They had some good bits in there, but then they don't even do a damn thing during the final battle. They blow up one bubble, and that's about it. And in this one, most of them are stuck at AVL. Even the Mega Minions don't do jack shit. And even the few that are with Gru, they don't do much, and how one of them gets stuck in a vending machine for the entire film. You think I'm joking, but no, that actually happens. So, it kind of feels like I'm crapping on this movie, but honestly, I still had fun with it. The plot is dumb, but it's an enjoyable kind of dumb. Like, nothing in it really makes sense, but these are the kinds of movies where I can say turn off your brain and enjoy it. Most of the people, they use that as a shield for bad movies. Like, I cannot turn my brain off and enjoy a shitty movie. Like, people try to tell me, turn off your brain and enjoy Batman v Superman and Zack Snyder's Justice League. I can't do it. Those movies are such garbage. I can't do it. But movies like this, I can. I can turn my brain off and enjoy the hijinks. The animation still looks fantastic. The voice acting is still good, minus Will Ferrell being as annoying as he usually is. Oh, Barbie. I forgot that was another movie he was in that annoyed the fuck out of me. But I would definitely say, if you have kids, you can definitely give it a watch. I thought this was going to be a disaster because the trailers were so awful. But I had fun with it. I would probably say this might be my third favorite of the mainline ones, because I really don't really care for the second one that much. It's fine, but it's just not great. I'd say this one ranks probably third, which would rank it 4th out of 6, probably. I'll probably do a ranking of all of these. So yeah, Despicable Me 4, I'm gonna give it a C+. Perfectly fine. So that's all I got, and I'll see you next time. Bye.